virtual session. Again, let me just start. I'm sorry. My name is Chris Smith, and I'm the board chair. I'm going to go around just let the board members introduce themselves who are on the call. I'll start with Monique.
First board member.
Michael, board member.
All right, and also we also have on we also presenting on the side that the councils do themselves well. Starting with Anna.
Anna Schloines, counsel to the code enforcement staff.
Thomas Powers, City Attorney's Office, counsel to the Housing Appeals Board.
Jill Sanchez Myers, also counsel to the board.
Mike Jenkins, Housing and Neighborhood Services Code Enforcement Division.
Kirk Young, Code Enforcement Operations Manager.
Alyssa Gilliland, clerk to the board.
Kim Sauer, Code Enforcement Supervisor, here for myself and Carrie Altizer today.
Jane Taylor, Code Enforcement Manager.
All right. So I will say that I apologize up front. I do have to read the statement. It will be kind of lengthy, so just bear with me as we get started, and then we'll do the swearing in after of all the members who we testifying. This is a remote meeting. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are conducting this meeting using remote electronic platform, and that I would ask for your patience today as we proceed. There may be slight delays as we transition between speakers, participants, and presentations. The Housing Appeals Board is a quasi-judicial body that is governed by NC General Statutes and the Charlotte Housing Code. The board conducts hearings of appeals with finding of facts and the order issued by the code enforcement who are enforcing Chapter 11 Housing Code. Before we begin hearing cases on today's agenda, I'd like to provide some important information on the steps that we're taking to ensure that each party due process rights are protected and we proceed in this remote platform. First, today's meeting will be conducted in accordance to the newly enacted state statutes passed by the North Carolina General Assembly in Session Law 2020-3 that allows for remote meetings in a quasi-judicial hearing during declarations of emergency. Second, each appellant was notified and provided written consent before being placed on today's agenda that this meeting would be conducted using a remote electronic platform. Third, notice of this meeting was provided to the appellants via first class and certified mail. Any conducted appellant any documents the appellant was requesting be provided to the board were required to be submitted to the board secretary in advance. Those documents will be shared as the hearing proceeds. Finally, any individual wishing to participate in today's hearing were required to register when signing into the remote meeting platform. This record, along with the audio recordings of today's hearing, will be kept on file as required by the city clerk's office. Hearing procedures. The order of the hearing will be as follows. All parties will plan to give testimony pro or con, must be sworn in. Second, code enforcement will be present, will present their testimony for the case. Third, the board may question the staff member, and then appellant may ask questions to the staff members. Following that, the appellant may present their testimony for the case. The board may question the appellant or request clarification. The appellant may present sworn witnesses. They may be subject to questioning. And then finally, other parties wishing to speak pro or con will be given reasonable time to present sworn testimony. After hearing each case, the board will review each case and render a decision. This is usually done in open deliberations after hearing each case. All present parties are not permitted to address the board during this portion of the meeting. However, everyone is permitted to remain present and listen quietly to the board discussion and vote. Any member of the board may call for a motion which should be seconded by another board member. The chairperson will call for a final vote. Fifth, all exhibits must remain with the board. Exhibits were required to provide to the secretary no later than 3 business days prior to the hearing in order to be considered for this hearing. If you feel that there is a conflict of interest of any member of the board or association that will prejudice your case, please let it be known at the start of your case. The board is acting in a quasi-judicial capacity for the purpose of hearing and can only accept sworn testimony. While the board will not specifically exclude hearsay evidence, it is only given limited weight. If you do not agree with the board's ruling, you have the following rights. 1, appeal to Superior Court of Mecklenburg County within 15 days of the receipt of this letter, or appeal to the Superior Court of Mecklenburg County within 15 days of the receipt of this letter and petition the Superior Court for a temporary injunction within 30 days of the receipt of the letter to restrain the code enforcement official from carrying out the order pending a final disposition of the case. A written copy of the board decision will be mailed to you via the first class and certified mail. And finally, please remember to mute your microphone when you do not intend to speak. I'll ask that the board secretary now swear in all those parties plan to give testimony today.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, so we will go ahead and read the statement, and then if you would state your name before you affirm, and we will need the inspector or those giving testimony to swear in today, as well as Mr. Argenio, the appellant. So do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
Kim Sauer, I affirm.
Got it. Unmute.
Kim Sauer, I affirm.
Mr. Argenio?
Frederick Argenio, I affirm.
Thank you.
Mike Jenkins, I affirm.
To everyone?
Yes.
All right, so I will turn it over, with that said, I will now turn it over to code enforcement to present their testimony for the case.
Thank you. As I said earlier, I'm Kim Sauer here for Carrie Altizer today. Today is December 10th, 2020, and we're here for 3216 Maywood Drive, a minimum housing case. This will be on slide 2. The appellant is Mr. Frederick Robert Argenio. He is also the property owner. Carrie Altizer was the inspector, and I am her supervisor. Slide 3. The case was originated through a field observation. The inspection initially was conducted on February 5th of 2020. The structure is a single-family dwelling located in the Plaza Shamrock neighborhood. Violations at the structure include but are not limited to about 819 square feet of roof covering that's missing, roof sheathing replaced without a permit, fascia decay, soffits decayed, ceiling joist replaced in the front bedroom without a permit, ceiling covering missing in the front bedroom, a light fixture missing in the front bedroom, rear bedroom missing ceiling cover. On slides 4, 5, and 6, and 7 are all copies of the violations that were cited in the case. Slide 8. A complaint and notice of hearing was sent to all the parties, all owners and parties in interest by certified and first-class mail on February 6th, 2020. Proper legal service was provided for the complaint and notice of hearing. The administrative hearing was held on March 18th, 2020 at the South Service Area Office, located at 3505 Central Avenue in Charlotte. Attendees for the hearing were Mr. Argenio, the property owner, and Carrie Altizer, the inspector. Slide 9 shows an activity shows the service. U.S. Postal Service and the posting of the complaint notice. Slide 10 shows the hearing sign-in sheet with Mr. Argenio as the attendee. Slide 11 references photos from February 5th, 2020. And slide 12 are the initial inspection photos from February 5th, 2020. The upper left picture is a picture of the violation of the roof covering missing and roof sheathing being replaced without the permit. The top right picture would be the violation of the ceiling covering missing in the rear bedroom. Bottom left picture would be floor covering missing in the middle bathroom. Bottom right picture would be ceiling paint peeling in the middle bathroom. Slide 13, again from February 5th of 2020, shows the damaged ceiling joists, and some had been replaced without the permits. And the right picture would be the ceiling covering missing in the front bedroom. Slide 14, a finding of fact and order to repair the property was sent to all parties in interest by certified and first class mail on March 19th, 2020. The compliance date to comply with the order was dated April 20th, 2020. Proper legal service was provided for the finding of facts and order. A notice of appeal was received on March 31st, 2020. Slide 15 shows the service, the signature card, and the posting date for the findings of fact. Slide 16 is Mr. Argenio's appellant letter detailing his appeal request. Slide 17 is more details. It shows that our estimated cost for repair at the time was about $9,125, which is 14% of the $65,700 structure tax value, which placed the estimated cost, placed the structure in repair status. As of November 25th, 2020, when Ms. Altizer and I were at the property, no repairs had been made. Several documented phone calls and other communications between the city and the owner on March 17th, 18th, 31st. As of December 2nd, no permits had been issued by Mecklenburg County, but I was informed just prior to this hearing that Mr. Argenio had been in contact with Mecklenburg County this morning, that the stop work order hold had been lifted as he was trying to apply for his permits, but needed to pay for the permits. So that was the step that was still outstanding, but he is attempting to get his permits. Slide 18 references photos from our visit on November 25th. And those pictures in the slide on 19 show upper left is the ceiling covering still missing. Upper right is still ceiling covering missing. Bottom left is the roof work still not completed and missing. And bottom right, I believe, is the water stain in the ceiling. At this time, we ask that the board uphold the finding of fact to repair. That's all I have.
All right, we'll open up to where the board may question the staff member and appellant may question the staff member. So I have one question on slide. Can you go back to slide number 13? Are you able to share that? There was a open floor, open joist that were on that. Is the house currently? Is anyone currently living in the house?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes,
yes, this is Mr. Argenio.
Okay.
Yes, I'm the only person living in the house.
Okay. As far as the code, I want to ask a specific question to the code officer, code enforcement on the open on the open ceiling joist rafters that we're seeing. Is that access to the outside of the home with that light coming through the top? I just want to make sure with the orientation of the picture on the right-hand side.
Could I
Mr.
respond?
Argenio, help me with this and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it, Mr. Dennis, it is coming in through what you would see on the slide on 12. It would be that top left picture, I believe.
Okay.
That's kind of what you're referencing underneath.
Correct. So it does have access, there is whether access from the outside.
Yes.
That's where the ceiling joists descend to the point where they're at the top of the exterior wall. And there's fascia in there, and there's also venting. So there's holes that are light coming through because you're supposed to have venting at the bottom of the soffit.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Were there any other from the board members?
Mr. Chair,
No questions.
Yes, sir.
Alyssa, if you can ask everyone that is in the room with you to mute their microphones unless they are speaking, that will cause some feedback on the video with everybody's mic being on at the same time.
Thank you so much, Council. Just reiterate, everyone on the call, if you can mute your phones if you're not speaking to ensure that we don't have feedback on the call, and I'll do so as well. So that may cause some delays, and I will try and make sure that we accommodate for that as we speak. If someone's not speaking, to make sure they have time to unmute their mic. Is there any, with that said, is there any more questions for code enforcement around the around what has been presented on the board? I will take that as a no. And I will now turn it over to the appellant, may present their testimony for their case.
Yes, this is Fred Argenio, the property owner. Can you hear me?
Mr. Argenio, thank you so much for being here today, and you can go ahead and present your case. We can hear you.
Yes. I've applied for a permit, and I don't want to do any more work on the project until I have the permit, which was a mistake I made last time. The Chip O'Keefe cleared the hold, and now the permit is deferred, which means there's payment, which could be either the permitting fee of $60 or the bond that's required when you're doing the self-contracting. But I might have an existing bond with the city from a project I previously completed. I intend to work with code enforcement on this. I know there are issues and I have to address them, but the first step in the process is getting the permit approved as opposed to starting the project last time.
Thank you so much for that. Will that conclude your testimony?
I wonder if at the time it would be appropriate to ask the board to defer it so I can continue along the process of getting the permits and starting the repairs.
If you give us a few seconds, we're going to ask a few questions. I think we'll allow the board to ask questions, and then our next step, the board will go into a session where we would deliberate on our decision. So if you just give us a little more time on that. I do have one. Thanks, someone has a mic on mute. As far as your permit, you do, and just for clarification, you do intend to pay the fee to get that permit reinstated, correct?
Well, I didn't think I had to pay the fee until it was approved. That's the only reason I haven't paid it. Also, like I said, it might be a bond issue. So I have to find out from the city whether I have to rebond for this project.
And what do you think is the time frame of doing that?
Well, I can call the revenue department today. I mean, if it's just the $60 fee, I can pay that at any time as long as there's a link for me to do that. Otherwise, I have to use the mail. But if it's the bonding, I'll have to send, I believe the self-bonding, there's a $3,000 deposit you make, but I understand the process is easy.
Any other board members have any questions they want to ask? I want to go on mute.
Question was gonna be, the timeline, but he answered that he was gonna reach out. Okay.
Is there any other board?
Chris, before you move into deliberations, Mr. Argenio did provide a document that he wanted to share with the board. I just want to be sure that he did not want me to share that before we go any further.
When you say the document I wanted to share with the board, was it attached to the email that I sent to Carrie?
Yes, it was the permit document.
Yeah, the documents for the permits. No, I have no objection to that being shared.
So I'm just going to scroll through here. Mr. Argenio, let me know if you want me to stop.
Alyssa,
Yes?
if you could, there is a arrow to your right of your cursor. If you could click that arrow, that would make the document a little bit down, go down. Go down.
What is he
To
wanting?
right there. Go to the left a little. It's right there in that little gray box. There you go. Click that.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Thomas.
That makes it bigger for everybody to see.
And I can make it bigger here.
Mr. Argenio,
Yes?
is there any pertinent information that you would like the board to see as Alyssa Gilliland is scrolling through the document?
I can't think of anything.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, if there's any information that you think is pertinent, it would be good to let Ms. Gilliland know that so she can allow you to review it or to examine it further.
Ms. Gillian, can you just verify the document we're looking at is the application for the permit? I just want to make sure I'm aware of what I'm looking at.
I would ask Mr. Argenio to answer that question.
There were, I believe, 4 pages associated with the application for the permit. Then 5 pages, like it says there, zoning supplement residential permit application. But I've since contacted Lovely Bell of zoning, and she doesn't think there's any zoning approval that's needed for the project.
Okay. Ask just for clarification, as she's scrolling through the document, what is your timeline of completing the project? That you feel that you can complete the project and have the intent to complete this project?
I don't know what the timeline for completion is, but like I said, by 30 days, I should be replacing I'm going to have to replace some of the rafters that they referenced as I previously attempted to repair, but I should replace. So I'm going to start from the left, facing the property. Start from the left and start replacing them sequentially so that I don't have the entire roof exposed at any one time. But I should have 4, 5, or 6 of the rafters on the left, which is the exposed area in the bedroom, replaced as soon as I get the permit.
I'll ask the board, are there any other questions that you may have for the appellant?
No further questions.
For me.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Eugenio. Mr. Eugenio, I want to make sure I pronounce your name correctly for providing that testimony. So right now at this time, the board will go into a deliberation phase of this meeting. I want to just to state the 2 points that were stated earlier. All parties are permitted to address, are not permitted to address the board during this portion of the meeting. However, everyone is permitted to remain present and listen quietly to the board discussion and our vote. So with that said, I will shut down the open meeting, and we're going to the private deliberation meeting with the board. So, board members, just any questions, comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
before you begin, let me just make sure I clarify for the purposes of the record that we're in closed discussions and deliberations, not a private meeting. So,
thank you. Closed discussions. Apologies. So noted. Board, any discussions you'd like to have?
Just about the time frame that he kind of wants for that. I know he was saying that about the payment method, about the mail versus online. I know the mail can be a little bit slow, so we're gonna give him a little bit more time since the mail option can be a little bit slow as far as the payments.
Okay. So because of the figuring out the issue with the bond and getting that payment mailed in, or because the way the system is now. Okay, that's noted. Anything else we may have in the discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say a few things. Looking over the timeline in the PowerPoint, the city came out in February, and also came out a few times after that, and there's no permit. And I know that he said he can call today and get the things that he needs, but I do believe that's and I don't want this to keep going on where the house is, the roof and everything is not repaired. So I do believe that some of this could have been completed before the meeting today. So I'm not really sure about his timeline.
And I definitely take that in note as well, because I think that the challenge that the question I have is, how do we set a valid time frame? I know where COVID-19 has put us in a peculiar environment, and that the challenge that we have is of ensuring enough time to get the permit instated, and also do the repairs. Council, like to ask a question? In hearing the discussion that we're having right now, I think one of the issues that we have is the timing around the questioning around the time it will take to get the appellant to allow them to get the permit in these conditions. How do we address that at this point? And I hope I'm asking it correctly.
I think the ultimate question would really be, what does the board want to do? Meaning, does the board want to affirm the order to demolish, which is what code is actually requesting? Does the board want to reverse the order, or does the board want to modify the order in that regard?
I would just note it's a repair order, not a demo.
It's repair.
Order.
Yeah.
Sorry. I apologize. Thank you, Ms. Lourdes. They affirm the order to repair, reverse the order to repair, or modify it. Again, in this instance, if the board is operating under the extra jurisdiction for order to repair, you are allowed to give time to the actual applicant to effectuate all the necessary repairs. Now, I think in this instance, if you're affirming the order to repair, the housing inspector can still operate and work with the applicant on the repair in regards to that time frame. If you're mandating a certain time frame, then I would think it would be a situation where if you're mandating it has to be completed, then you're saying that if it's not completed by X date, then the housing inspector has the ability to assess any kind of fines associated with the house being, out of compliance for the repair order. So I think that, again, the question becomes, are you wanting to affirm it in full, reverse it in full, or modify it? That would then, go ahead, Mr. Chair.
With the firm, we didn't get a time frame on that firm. Is that what we'll set?
If you're affirming it, it means it's free and clear. So you're just basically saying code enforcement, this is correct. This is an order. They need to take care of it as quickly as possible. If you can give me one moment, I'm going to quickly look at the provision. One moment. Alyssa?
Yes?
If you could, can you give me the actual order to repair so I can look at that language?
Sure, I'll pull up the PowerPoint.
Thank
Is
you.
that okay?
Yes, that'd be fine.
So this is the copy that we have put in the PowerPoint. I also have the document that we shared with the board previously I can pull up, and then Mike Jenkins has a full copy of the file and can answer any other questions.
Yeah, I'm just actually trying to see to the left, which is the findings of fact and order repair, that. If you can somehow zoom in on that so I can get the date on it just to make sure.
Okay, I don't know how to zoom in.
Okay.
April 20.
I don't know how to zoom in.
It says on or before 20.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Right. All right, that's what I need to know. So
Thank you.
Yes, that's clear.
all right. So let me go back to answer your question, Mr. Dennis. Chair, you asked the question of whether or not, let me back up. Chair, you asked the question that if the board were to affirm the order to repair, what would happen? If the board were to affirm the order to repair, the actual findings of fact are immediate, and therefore the code enforcement staff would have the ability to assess a civil penalty every day or a civil fine every day for noncompliance going forward. That's if you immediately affirm it today, okay? If you were to reverse it, then you're finding that there's no violations at all of the housing code ordinance. If you were to modify it, from your perspective, you will be giving a grace period, so to speak, where the property owner could bring the property into compliance before the housing code inspector could assess any kind of civil fines in that regard. So the question then becomes, again, if you affirm it today, theoretically, they could start assessing tomorrow all fines for noncompliance. If you reverse, then it's basically saying there's no violation on the property whatsoever, or the hybrid where you give a grace period.
Clarification, council. With that said, we'll resume with the board conversations? Is there any other conversation between the board, or is the board ready to make a motion?
Ready to make a motion,
All right, what is that motion?
to uphold the facts and findings and, for the repair.
All right, is there any discussion?
I would like to modify it, 30 days, extension into 30 days.
So we have a modification of right now the motion is to uphold the findings of facts with the modification of adding 30-day grace period on that to do repairs.
Correct.
Do I have a second to that motion?
Or 15.
Mr.
I
Chair,
Yes, sir.
from a procedural standpoint, Ms. Horace's actual motion was to affirm in its entirety. That has not been seconded yet. Mr. Bridges has offered a actual second motion, which would be a delay of time between either 15 or 30 days, which is also outstanding. So let me just say from a procedural standpoint, the first motion that the board should consider for a second is Mrs. Horace's motion, which is affirming with no date. If Mr. Bridges does not second it, then it will die, and then Mr. Bridges' motion would then be on the floor, and then if Ms. Horace were to agree, it would then be allowed for a vote.
Okay. So with that said, on the first motion that was put up, is there a second on that first motion? Which I don't think there was.
Correct.
We'll move forward with the second motion that Mr. Bridges put forth. And Mr. Bridges, can you restate that motion?
Yes, I would like to give a motion for in between 15 to 30 days for the client to just seal the repairs.
Can we give a clarity on which one you want to do, 15 or 30?
15.
Is there a second on that? I would like to put the motion. I would like to modify that motion to just to uphold the facts and give a 30 day due to the fact of the current environment and the holidays that are coming up. And I know there may be some challenges in getting responses. So I like to at least get the minimum of 30 days.
Second.
So we have a second on the motion that I just put in place by Mr. Bridges.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Unless the rules have changed, the chair can't make a motion. So in this instance, Mr. Bridges has made your motion, so to speak. So the question then becomes whether Ms. Horace would also agree to that as well.
I apologize.
Not a problem. Ms. Horace, do you agree to that motion or second that motion?
For 30 days?
That is correct.
I'll second it.
Awesome. So now we'll take that motion to a vote with all parties agreeing by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And are there any nays? So ayes have it. And the motion that we put in place is to uphold the findings of fact and provide a 30-day grace period to make the repairs.
Just to make sure for purpose of the record, Mr. Bridges, did you vote in favor or against the motion?
Mr. Bridges, I think you're on mute.
In favor.
Thank you.
So at this time, we'll open the session back up Mr. Virginio, you've heard all of the board's deliberations and conversations. Our decision at this point is to uphold the findings of facts, allow you to repair the property, with the opportunity to have a 30-day grace period to make the repairs. Council, should I read the statement that kind of goes along with the a follow-up?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So I want to ask Mr. Jones, did you understand that the motion that was put in front of you? I'm sorry, not the motion. I apologize. I'm trying to read the screen. I want to make sure I get this correct. So basically, the board has made the decision, and if you do not agree with the board's ruling, you have the following right. You can appeal. You can appeal to Superior Court of Mecklenburg County within 15 days of the receipt of this letter, or appeal to Superior Court of Mecklenburg County within 15 days of the receipt of this letter, and petition to Superior Court for the temporary injunction within 30 days of the receipt of this letter to restrain the code enforcement officials from carrying out the order pending the final decision. Disposition of this case. A written copy of the board decision will be mailed to you via first class and certified mail. So, Mr. Ritchie, I think, Council, do I close out here, or do I open any questions for Mr. Ritchie?
I think the recommended course of action was to ask Mr. Ardenio if he has any questions. If he does not, then you may close out the meeting.
Mr. Jan, do you have any additional questions now you've heard the motion?
I didn't speak earlier. I didn't want to interrupt at an inappropriate time. I understand the ruling and I appreciate the concern, and I'm just wondering what sort of interactions I will have with code enforcement to help me carry out the process.
I'm going to turn it over to Council. Council, would you like to answer that question?
Mr. Ardenio, so I will say that you can engage code enforcement today and for the next 30 days, definitely, to speak with them about the repairs that are necessary to the house. This order does not prevent you from having those communications, nor prevents code enforcement from having any communications with you regarding the repairs to the property. So you may engage them as much as possible to facilitate the repair.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any additional questions?
Not at this time.
Thank you so much for attending today and allowing us to be able to conduct this in a remote fashion. With that said, I'll go ahead and close out the meeting. I will turn it back to Mr. Delpit.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Argenio, for your patience today. Please give us just a few minutes to set up for our next hearing for 7412 Red Start Court. We need to get the inspector in place and then we will begin. Just 1 minute, please.
So board members, I apologize for being a little choppy.
Okay.
Okay, I think we are ready to go ahead and start for the second case today. Thomas, will you let Chris know if he needs to reread his speech in order to begin this hearing?
I'm here.
We'll give Thomas just a few minutes. He may have stepped away for a quick break.
Alyssa, is it just while we're waiting to get started? Could that actually be something we can mail to the appellant? The procedures beforehand.
So we do. I'm sorry. We do provide. I do provide them a procedures, and it is really just kind of a quick snapshot of the steps of the hearing. The speech you read is different, and I can ask legal if that is okay to provide prior to the appellant.
Okay, I don't mind reading this. It's so lengthy, but I'm fine.
I think for the record, it probably does have to be read.
Got it.
And I'm not sure if we have to read it before each hearing or just at the start of the meeting. And that was kind of what I was hoping for clarification for.
Okay.
It would need to be read before each individual case.
Okay, great. So Chris, if you would start us off reading that one more time, and then we will swear in the inspector that is going to provide testimony today, as well as our appellant, Mr. Mayunga.
Okay. 1 second. All right. The date.
I'm sorry, Chris, before we go much further, can we just get a quick sound check for Mr. Mayunga? Would you mind unmuting yourself and letting us know you can hear us and we can hear you?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Great. Yes, perfectly. Thank you.
Awesome. Today's date is December 10th, 2020. The meeting of the Housing Appeals Board is now in session. I am Christopher Dennis, the chairperson. I will go around and let each board member introduce themselves.
First board member.
Mike Bridges, board member.
Also, I would like to allow the additional attendants in the room to present themselves, starting off with Anna.
I'm Anna Schloinis. I'm counsel to the code enforcement staff.
Thomas Powers, City Attorney's Office, counsel to the board.
I'm Jill Sanchez Myers, also counsel to the board.
Mike Jenkins, Code Enforcement.
Kirk Young, Code Enforcement.
Alyssa Gilliland, secretary to the board.
Tommy Bernesser, Code Enforcement Inspector.
Jane Talon, Code Enforcement Manager.
All right. So I will again apologize for I've got to read a long statement, and I just want to make sure I'll go over all the rules for this meeting. With that said, this is a remote meeting. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are conducting this meeting using a remote electronic platform, and I would ask for your patience today as we proceed. There may be slight delays as we transition between speakers, participants, and the presentation. The Housing Appeals Board is a quasi-judicial body that is governed by the NC General Statutes and the Charlotte Housing Code. The board conducts hearings of appeals, finding of facts order issued by the code enforcement who is enforcing Chapter 11, enforcing the Chapter 11 Housing Code. Before we begin to hear the cases on today's agenda, I would like to provide some important information on the steps that we're taking to ensure that each party due process rights are protected as we proceed in this remote platform. First, today's meeting will be conducted in accordance to the newly enacted statutes, state statutes passed by the North Carolina General Assembly in Session Law 2020-3 that allows for remote meetings in a quasi-judicial hearing during declarations of emergency. Second, each applicant was notified and provided written consent before being placed on today's agenda that this meeting will be conducted using a remote electronic platform. Third, the notice of this meeting was provided to the appellant via first class and certified mail. Any documents the appellant was requesting be provided to the board. I'm sorry, any documents that the appellant was requesting be provided to the board were required to be submitted to the board secretary in advance. Those documents will be shared as the hearing proceeds. Finally, any wishing to participate in today's hearing were required to be registered when signing into the remote meeting platform. This record, along with the audio recording of today's hearing, will be kept on file as required by the city clerk office. I want to take a second to kind of go over the hearing procedures with you. The order of how the order of the meeting would go. Well, all parties who plan to give testimony, pro or con, must be sworn in. Code enforcement will present their testimony for the case. Then, following that, the board may question the staff members, and then the appellant may question the staff member. Following, the appellant may present their testimony for the case. The board may question the appellant or request clarification. After that's done, the appellant may present a sworn witness. They may be subject to questioning as well. Other parties wishing to speak pro or con will be given reasonable time to present sworn testimony. After that's complete, after hearing the case, the board will review each case and render a decision. This is usually done in an open deliberation after hearing each case. All parties are not permitted to address the board during this portion of the meeting. However, everyone is permitted to remain present and listen quietly to the board discussion and vote. Any member of the board may call for a motion which should be seconded by another board member. The chairperson will call for a final vote. Following that, all exhibits must remain with the board. Exhibits were required to be provided to the secretary no later than 3 business days prior to the hearing in order to be considered for this hearing. If you feel there's a conflict of interest of any member of the board or on association that would prejudice your case, please let it be known at the start of your case. The board is acting in a quasi-judicial capacity for the purposes of hearing and can only accept sworn testimony. While the board will not specifically exclude hearsay evidence, it is only given limited weight. If you do not agree with the board's ruling today, you have the following rights: to appeal to the Superior Court of Mecklenburg County within 15 days of the receipt of this letter, or appeal to the Superior Court of Mecklenburg County within 15 days of the receipt of this letter, and petition the Superior Court for a temporary injunction within 30 days of the receipt of this letter to restrain the code enforcement official from carrying out the order pending a final disposition of this case. A written copy of the board decision will be mailed to you via first class and certified mail. Please remember to mute your phones when you do not intend to speak, and that's for everyone on the call. I will now turn it over to the board secretary to swear in all parties that will be testifying today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I will read the affirmation statement, and then I would ask that everyone say their name and then affirm. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter at hand?
Tommy Bernesser, I affirm.
And Mr. Mayunga?
Dangala Mayunga, I affirm.
Thank you.
With that said, I will now turn it over to I'm sorry, can you, my phone's on mute. I will turn it over to the case to be presented by the code enforcement.
Bear with me while I get the PowerPoint pulled up.
Good afternoon. This is the Housing Appeals Board, December 10th, 2020. This case is in reference to 7412 Red Start Court, which is a minimum housing case. The appellant are the owners of the property, Mr. and Mrs. Mayunga. I am the inspector, Tommy Bernesser. The supervisor for this case is Mark Fowler. Slide 2. Slide 3. The case details. This case was originated through a property inspection petition. The initial inspection was conducted on December 16th of 2019. This specific structure is an owner-occupied single-family dwelling located in the Highland Creek Ridgefield community. Violations at the structure include, but are not limited to, structural, electrical, mechanical, plumbing violations, and insect infestation. Slide 4 shows the violations that were cited on the initial inspection. Slide 5 is a continuance of that violation summary. Slide 6, the case details. The complaint and notice of hearing was sent to all owners and parties in interest by certified and first-class mail on December 18th of 2019. Proper legal service was provided for the complaint and notice of hearing. The administrative hearing was held on January 22nd, 2020 at the North Service Area Office located at 2730B Roswell Ferry Road. The attendees for the administrative hearing, I was the only one present. There were no other attendees for that hearing. Slide 7 is the complaint and notice of hearing, and also showing the proof of service for that complaint and notice of hearing. Slide 8, going to the photos from the initial inspection on May 21st, 2019. I'm sorry, December 16th, 2019. Slide 9, showing the photos of the initial inspection. Top left corner there shows moisture damage to the ceiling. Top right photo shows the cabinet in the kitchen being damaged. Also evidence of a leaking waste pipe. 1182, the bottom left picture shows electrical wires and a receptacle that was hanging from the wall. And the bottom right photo, 1183B, shows the floor covering damaged and also noted some soft subflooring in that kitchen area. Slide number 10. Top left shows holes in the interior wall of a stairway. Top right shows more moisture damage to a bathroom in the upstairs. Bottom left shows evidence of a plumbing leak in that same bathroom. And the bottom right shows some of the conditions that were contributing to the evidence of the insect infestation. Slide number 11, also from the initial inspection, showing some violations on the exterior. The top left is showing a crack in the pier and foundation, the pier and curtain wall of the foundation. Top right is actually an interior view of the crawl space looking at that same location from the inside. Bottom left is showing some noxious vegetation that was growing on the outside of the structure. And the bottom right is showing some damage to the front porch stair tread. Slide number 12, the case details. A findings of fact and order to repair was sent to all parties in interest by certified and first-class mail on February 10th, 2020. The date to bring all violations in compliance with the order was March 11th of 2020. Proper legal service was provided to all parties in interest for the finding of fact and order. A notice of appeal was received on April the 3rd of 2020. Slide 13 shows the finding of facts and the order to repair and also the proof of service for that letter. Slide 14 is the letter from the appellant. Slide 15, case details. The city's estimated cost for repairs was $7,080 based on the means estimating guide and local cost conditions. The means is a national recognized pricing estimating guide for commercial and residential repairs. This was approximately 4% of the structure's tax value, which is valued at $198,100. The estimated repair cost places the structure in a repair status. Communication between the owner and the city on 11/22/2019. We initially made contact with Mr. Mayunga regarding the petition and the need to inspect the property. Had additional communication on December 2nd, 2019, reference to canceling that initial inspection. And then again, contact on December 11th, 2019, with Mr. Mayunga regarding rescheduling that initial inspection. As of December 2nd of 2020, based on a follow-up re-inspection, no repairs have been made or permits issued by Mecklenburg County's Code Enforcement Inspection Department. Slide 16, some additional case details. Upon the initial inspection of this property, I made a referral to the Housing Services Division of Housing Neighborhood Services to consider the property for an emergency housing and rehab project. Housing Services did speak with Mr. Mayunga in February of 2020. They advised him of all the documents that they would need in order to process the rehab application. To my knowledge, as of December 2nd, 2020, the property owners still have not provided the necessary documents or made any efforts to work with the Housing Services to resolve the violations. Slide 17, board photos of a reinspection on December 1st, 2020. We were not able to gain access for an interior reinspection, so these are exterior photos. The top left corner shows the front of the structure. The top right still shows that same noxious vegetation that was on the structure from the initial inspection, as well as some damage to the soffits. The bottom left shows that same area where the pier and curtain wall has structural damage, and the bottom right references the porch where there's still some damage to that stair tread. And slide number 19, requesting that you uphold the findings of fact in order to repair. And that concludes my testimony.
Thank you so much for that testimony. We will now open up for questions based on the testimony given. Can you go back to slide number 10 for me? Okay. I was just verifying the hole in the was that a hole in the wall, or was that in the ceiling? Again, the orientation of the picture just is throwing me off. I think that's the wall, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The upper left picture, is that a picture of the wall, or is that in the ceiling?
This is on slide number 10. The far upper left photo is a picture of the interior wall on the staircase leading to the second floor of the structure.
Okay. And I was noting it's a very large wall, and just wanted to make sure any hazard conditions from that that need to be taken, additional precautions need to be taken. As far as the board, any additional questions you may have?
Yeah, I want to know if someone is living in the home.
Yes, it's an owner-occupied property. Mr. and Mrs. Mayunga, to my knowledge, occupy the property.
You said that in the beginning. I'm sorry.
Can you repeat that statement? I'm sorry. Code.
Yes, this is an owner-occupied property. Mr. and Mrs. Mayunga occupy the home. I'm not sure if there's any other residents that reside there.
Could you go to slide 11 for me, please?
Board Bridges, any questions on slide 11?
Yes. What is the bottom left-hand picture? I mean, it looks like a satellite dish. Like, what is that picture actually describing as far as a destruction or damage?
Sure. The bottom left photo is showing vegetation, noxious vegetation that's actually attached to the structure on that left rear corner. It's hanging from the left rear I'm sorry, the right rear soffit, the left if you're looking at from the picture. And also you can see to the right of that, near that window, you can see some of the damage to the soffit on the roof line where it's hanging down.
Is there also damage to that lower, the lower right portion of that window in that, in the rear of the home? It looks like the window, the upstairs window.
I did not note any damage to that window during the initial inspection from the interior.
Okay. Are there any additional questions from the board, based on this testimony?
No.
No.
All right. We will now, turn it over to allow the appellant. Mr. Mayunga, would you like to present your case?
Yes, how you doing? I'm speaking on behalf of my parents. This is Dongala Mayunga. So we've been already working on, well, me and my sister, we've been trying to help out our parents with getting some work done at the house for them, because our parents, they don't have the best of jobs, and we knew that there were some things that needed to be done. So our goal was to start working on that, and then the petition situation came up, and we're still working on everything. And I think we send in some photos of some things that have been done to the house, and also estimations of what what we got for getting the work done in the bathrooms and the kitchen areas. As far as the other locations, that's also something that we're trying to work on as well. Is just due to the COVID situation. My parents, well, my mom, she hasn't been working. My dad hasn't been getting any hours, so it's really been just being my sister really just holding things down as far as helping them with the house, regular household things, and also trying to get things fixed at the house. But right now, the next project is to work on the kitchen and the bathroom areas, and then the outside areas of the houses. Only outside area of the house that we worked on so far is the back patio area, which I thought was part of the codes and regulations, but that's the only thing that's been completed as far as the project. The next project is the kitchen and the bathrooms.
Speaking on mute, would that conclude your testimony? Is there anything else? Anything to add?
Did you say
the only thing I can just add that we're working on everything the best that we can. I'm working on getting a loan to help out. My sister's working on a loan as well, and my parents are too, so we can try to speed up the process of trying to get everything done. But as of right now, the next project that we're trying to focus on is the kitchen and the bathrooms. Hopefully, that can be done by late winter, early spring, and then the rest of the outside area of the house, hopefully no longer by the summer or late fall.
So, Mr. Mayunga, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Question.
Now, I want to make sure I give him time to finish his testimony before I open up for questions. I think that was clear. That was the last thing. So I'll go ahead and open up for questions now. We would ask if we have any questions we have.
Yes, I have a question. Did you say the patio was completed, or did you say it was, or did you say it was like partially completed?
Yeah, the patio area. Well, I thought Tom took pictures of the patio area too. So the patio area, the screens for the patio area was torn down, and the wood needed a little bit of work and some painting. So we redid the back patio area. That's the only complete project that has been done.
Thank you.
Mr. Young, I definitely want to say thank you to the Court Enforcement for taking some additional steps and providing resources. Were you aware of the program that they mentioned around providing rapid repair for the home?
Yes, sir. I mean, I received a call from a rep after speaking to Tom, and she told me what needed to be turned in. I did reach out and turn in the paperwork. I never got a response. If you need proof of my emails and no response, I can send that too. But I did send in the emails. I still have a copy of everything's in the email as far as the documentations that were sent. I just never got a response. I did get back with Mr. Tom about it. He said he looked into it, but I just never got a response on anything on that end. But that didn't stop us from still trying to work on what needed to be done.
And when was the last time you spoke with Mr. Tom, Mr. Tom, with anyone from code enforcement, in regarding a follow up on that program or options to assist in making repairs?
I think it was early 2020. I think probably around March. I'm not too sure. Because she reached out in December. I think by the end of January, I had the documentations ready for her and sent. I didn't hear anything. And then when it was around the time of having to send in the appeals letter to give us more time. That's when I spoke to Tom. So I'm guessing that was around March. He said he'll look into it and see if see what's the status of everything. He did tell me sometimes they move fast and sometimes things are like they might work on something and for some things to forget about it. But I did reached out to the same rep a few times, but just never got a response.
With that said, I have one final question I ask my other board members if they have any questions. I mean, I want to make a statement that, our part of our board is to ensure the safety of the home. And from the pictures that we see, there's a lot of unsafe items in the home. And with your parents being, from my understanding, and I'm not making an assumption they're seniors, we want to make sure that the home is taken care of and safe for them. Is there any time frame? Because you noted a time frame, but it wasn't, I think, clear for me. Do you have a timeline and the resources? And I want to stress the resources on your own to make repairs noted by code enforcement. And that's a two-part question. One is do you understand the resource available to you, and do you have what is a clear timeline you think that you can make these repairs? Because I think your timeline was a little bit stretched out.
As far as the resources, I mean, that's why we're working on the loans. I mean, we don't really have the money ourselves to get everything done at one time, so that's why we're working on trying to get the loans in order to have the money to get the repairs done. But we did have someone come in and do the estimation, so we have an idea of what we need as far as money and capital to get the jobs done.
Okay.
Scheduling. As far as the kitchen and the bathroom areas, we're trying to get those three areas done by the spring of 2021. That's the goal, of trying to get everything as far as the kitchen and the bathrooms done, and then as far as the outside area, hopefully by the summer or late fall, the latest of 2021.
Just for clarification, you're saying about 7 months?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Miyanga, you provided some documents that you wanted presented to the board today. Would you like me to share those at this time?
Yes, ma'am, no problem.
So if you would just let the board know what they're viewing here.
This is the estimation that my father got for someone who was going to help us with trying to get the kitchen and bathroom areas fixed, and that's for the estimation that he gave us as far as the work that needs to be done to complete the job correctly. And then I also sent just pictures of the back patio area as well.
Hey, can you go back to that list? That saw some things and I want that question about. Just for clarification, what was the council? I want to ask the question to code enforcement. What was the total of the repairs that were noted by the city? The total amount? I thought it was like 9,000.
What was your estimate?
I have wrote down 9,000. I want to make sure I got the right number.
Inspector Burnett are here. My estimates were just over $7,000, but comparing my violation list to what I'm seeing up here on the board, there's a lot of additional stuff that's on that estimate list that's not on my list.
Yeah, that's kind of what I noticed when I first looked at it as well. I was noting that the addition things that and I'll definitely just say that with Mr. Manga, with in looking at what Cole provided and what you're providing here in the spreadsheet, I would see this more as a full-fledged upgrade, which may take more time, and I'm not sure, council, how to correctly say this, but I think this would be more of a full-fledged project that's outside the scope of what we're meeting on today, on what you're presenting as far as this document. Council, is that inappropriate? Is that in line?
Mr. Chair, so to your question, if the property owner is wanting to do a full-fledged renovation, that's within their private rights as a owner of property. But I think to the question you're asking, which is if they're doing more than what is required, how does that influence the decision of the board? I don't think that should be a element of consideration. I think the only thing that's before you at this moment is the violations that were set forth by the code enforcement official, and that is what needs to be actually rectified. And so if they want to go beyond that, they can do it, but I think the only thing you're looking at is the list of violations that code enforcement is asking for a repair on.
Right, and I think that's the ring I was taking. I think that if we focus on this list, the timing would definitely be extended out, and I think that we can get more accomplished if we focus on what was in the scope of the order that was presented today by code enforcement. Thank you so much for that. Board, is there any additional questions you may have for the appellant?
Yes, can I get a clarification on the amount of people in the household, please?
Right now, it's my parents and me and my sister. Me and my sister just came back this year to help them out, to start the process of helping them out.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Manga also shared these photos. If you would like to share what the board should be looking at in these photos.
This is the back patio area. I thought I sent both sides of the back patio, but that's just the entrance area into the house. But that's the only full project that has been done as far as any work since the inspection.
It was to the steps.
Can you explain that work? I'm sorry.
What exactly did you repair here, Mr. Manga?
Well, the back patio area, it used to have a screen. The screen was torn in different areas, so we replaced it with the plastic glass, and we just fixed the wood that was keeping it up, and also the door and everything that's in the back patio area. Because I did remember, from the inspection, he was out there looking at the patio as well. And that was just one of the projects that we were just trying to get done as well on the house. And I thought that was part of one of the issues that we was having as far as the codes.
And when was this completed? The exact date, please.
It was completed. It had to be around September. I think that's when. I think September or late August. That's when it was completed.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question about the picture for the back. It's more along core regulations as far as the height of the steps, but that wasn't noted as one of the. Was that noted as one of the items?
Looking at my violation summary, it's Inspector Vanessa. I do have the, looking at the photo that's on the slide right now, those two stairs, the bottom one, half of that tread was missing upon my initial inspection. It looks like it has since been repaired.
And the height between the step from the house to step into the house and that first step per code?
You referencing the steps on the front of the house?
Step on the screen now, the height of that second step to step into the home. That's a big step. If it's not noted, it's not. If it's not noted, it wasn't a part of the case. I just wanted to mention it as a safety precaution, but it's fine. So with that said, are there any questions for the appellant? Additional questions?
None.
Ms. Hollis? All right. With that said, what I'll do is we'll go ahead and close out the open session and go into the deliberation of the board. I will state that all parties in the room are not permitted to address the board during this portion of the meeting. However, everyone is permitted to remain present and listen quietly to the board's discussion and vote. Any member of the board may call for a motion which should be seconded by another board member. The chairperson will call for a final vote. With that said, we'll go ahead and open up, allow the board to go into deliberations. Board, any discussions?
Just a time frame. I don't feel like he has a reasonable time frame on completing the repairs. So that would be my only concern. He doesn't necessarily have a time frame or when they said they can get it all together. So that is a big concern for me. And also that there are seniors in the household, like you said earlier. I know that's a big concern too, as well, as far as their safety. I know they're getting a little bit older. So that's something of concern for me too, as well. So that's something.
Norman Hollis, of course.
Oh, well, he did say spring 2021, and he reached out to the emergency housing rehab. Maybe he can try calling to follow up on the emails, but he did give a timeline, and I understand that his parents are, he's helping him, and he and his sister are helping his parents out. So I do think they should have a bit more time.
Okay. I think that code enforcement did a great job of offering, going above and beyond to offer additional assistance with the repair program. I would like to get someone from code to at least follow up to determine where the status of the case is. I know with COVID things are a little bit out of whack, and that may be the lack of response that was stated. But at the same time, I think that we have to ensure that the safety of the home, and I do see safety items, as Mr. Bridges also mentioned, that that could be a concern for seniors. So with that said, anyone would like to make a motion? And just to be clear, the motion, right now, it is a uphold the finding of facts is the motion that is currently on, recommended by, code enforcement. So anyone like to make a motion based on, what we discussed?
Motion, but I want to revise. I can't remember. Modify. I want to modify. I want to give them at least 30 days to get in contact with someone at emergency housing.
Okay. You want to make that the motion? So is that just for clarity? I want you to make sure you state it. Is you want to uphold the finding of facts with a modification to allow 30 days additional for repairs and to get in contact with emergency housing? Is
Correct.
That your motion? If you can read that.
Okay. I want to make a motion to uphold, to modify the facts and findings and give 30 days to reach out to the housing services.
All right. Council, is that permissible as far as a motion, correct?
Yes.
All right. Do we have a second?
Mr. Burgess, do you want to second this?
Yes, I'll second this.
Second. All in favor by saying aye. Aye. I didn't hear any board members.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Ayes have it. With that said, we have. I will go ahead and close down the board deliberation session. Open back up for open session. Mr. Mr. Mayunga, I wanted to make sure I say your name correctly. That the board has made a motion, and that motion is to uphold the findings of fact modify the findings of fact to allow you to repair the property, but also have additional 30 days to sorry about that.
Chris, at that point we were speaking, you faded out, so everything you just said we did not hear.
Okay, so I'll start with Mr. Mayunga. Just to let you, so as you heard the board deliberate and make a motion, the motion passed, and the motion was to uphold the finding of facts to allow you to repair the property, but also give you 30 additional days to make the repairs and contact emergency services. With that said, do you have any questions around the motion that was presented? And do you understand the motion? Okay.
Yes, I do understand.
Thank you so much. If you do not agree with the board's ruling, you have the following rights to appeal to the Superior Court of Mecklenburg County within 15 days of the receipt of this letter, a letter we sent to you, or appeal to the Supreme Court of Mecklenburg County within 15 days of receipt of the letter, and petition the Superior Court for a temporary injunction within 30 days of receipt of the letter to restrain the code enforcement officials from carrying out the order pending a final disposition of the case. A written copy of the board decision today will be mailed to you via first class and certified mail. With that said, I think we can close out this session. I thank you so much for attending today and working with us during these remote conditions. I will turn it now over to the board secretary as I close out this meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe that concludes our meeting today. Thank you, everybody, and happy holidays.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.